Download the Nursing Lecture app and get access to the premium videos, articles, mnemonics, practice test series, and chat completely free. Get it from the Play Store. In this lecture, we'll talk about the structure of heart, and in this part, we'll be discussing about its location and the layers of the heart. And in the next part, we'll be discussing about the internal structure of heart. So heart is very vital organ in human body, as this structure by continuous beating ejects oxygenated blood through the blood vessels and make the cells to become oxygen rich and pick up the carbon dioxide from these cells and transport it toward to the lungs, and through the lungs this CO2 is exhaled out. So this mechanism is only possible by the pumping action of the heart. So the heart is very smaller and it resembles like a closed fist. It is about 12 cm long, 9 cm wide and 6 cm thick in its wall, and the mass of it about 250 to 350 gram in adult male as well as female. And this structure rests upon the muscular partition between the thoracic cavity and the abdominopelvic cavity, that is called the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is a muscular partition between the thoracic cavity and the abdominopelvic cavity. So the heart lies in thoracic cavity, and in the thorax there is one more cavity which lies within this thorax is the mediastinum. So the mediastinum is a space which extends anteriorly from the sternum or the ribs toward the posterior till the vertebral column, and from superior to inferior it extends from first rib till the diaphragm, that is the muscular partition, and laterally it extends between the two lungs. So this space is called mediastinum in which the heart lies. So in a heart, the pointed inferior part is called the apex, and this apex is majorly formed from the ventricles and mainly from the left ventricle, and the posterior part which forms the base. So this base is formed by the atrium, mainly by the left atrium. So base is formed by the atrium and the apex is formed by the ventricle, basically from the left ventricle. Now here we'll see the membrane that surround or protect the layer of the heart, that is called the pericardium. So in the pericardium there are the two linings. One is the outermost is called the fibrous. Here it is, the fibrous pericardium, and this fibrous pericardium allows the heart to move and contract rapidly, and this layer protect because it is more tough and inelastic, and it is made up by dense irregular connective tissues, and also it prevents from overstretching of the heart. So this is how this membrane protect the heart, and it anchors the heart in the mediastinum. So this layer is called the fibrous pericardium. Now deep to this fibrous is the serous pericardium, and in serous there are two linings, two layers, and between two layers of the serous there is a space that is called the pericardial space or pericardial cavity that contain the pericardial fluid that help in reducing the friction in between the layers. So in the serous pericardium, here it is the parietal pericardium, and the another layer which lies deep to this is the visceral pericardium. So in the serous there are two lining, parietal or visceral pericardium, and between these two is the pericardial fluid that reduces the friction between these two linings. So next will come on the layer of the heart wall. So in the heart wall there are the three linings. The outermost is the epicardium, this one, and the middle one is the myocardium, and the innermost is called the endocardium, this orange one. So the outermost lining is called epicardium, and about that we have already discussed that it is the visceral pericardial layer of the serous lining, and this is thin mesothelial lining that is formed by simple squamous epithelial lining, and underneath this lining there are some fibroelastic as well as adipose tissues collection that support or protect the layer of this heart wall. And also on the surface of this epicardium there are the collection of blood vessels as well as the lymphatics which supplies the myocardium. Next comes the middle lining, that is called the myocardium, and this myocardium is similar to the skeletal muscle tissues, that is in structure. Likewise in skeletal tissues, these also contain striated muscle fibers. Striated means that they contain the alternate bands of actin and myosin filaments which looks striated, but like the skeletal muscle fiber, these are not under voluntary control, whereas these are under involuntary control, as human cannot stop beating. But these striated muscle fiber connected by intercalated disc, and this is very unique feature in these cardiac muscle fiber, because by this structure or the disc they function like a single unit and transmit the nerve impulses. So 95% of the wall of the heart is formed from the myocardium. As you know that the main function of heart is the contraction, that is the beating, and for beating heart must be contract, and for the contraction what will be needed? That is myocardium, that is the muscle fiber is needed to contract continuously. The third and the last innermost lining of the heart is the endocardium, and this is the thin layer, and it is more smooth to avoid the friction between the layer as well as the blood which come inside the chamber of the heart and run through the valve of the heart. So by this smooth endocardial layer, the blood passes very smoothly between the chambers. So here we have seen the location of heart and the membrane that lines the heart exteriorly, that is called the pericardium, that is the fibrous pericardium and the serous pericardium. In serous there is the parietal and the visceral pericardium, and in between these two serous lining there is pericardial fluid to avoid the friction, and the wall of the heart, that is the epicardium, myocardium and the endocardium. In next part we will be seeing the internal structure of heart, in which we will be seeing the chambers of heart and the walls of the heart.